Hey everybody, this is Leslie with Pay Attention on YouTube, preparing for the apocalypse. As you can see, I have all these tomatoes today that I am going through the process of blanching to get the skins off, and then we're going to cook them down for a couple days, and then we're going to make some tomato sauce and possibly some sauce and some other things. But I just kind of wanted to share this process with you because I think it's one that a lot of people need to be doing at this time, getting their jars out, washing, sterilizing, and start to prepare ways for some produce. Okay, tomatoes, we're gonna blanch all these tomatoes and get them cooking for a couple of days for yummy sauce and salsa and whatever else I may can. But so this is step one of the process. What we're doing is scoring the tomatoes, and they're gonna go in this pot and they're gonna get cooked, and because you want to get those skins off first. So we're gonna do that step first, and then we'll check back later for the rest. Okay, so first step of the process of getting your tomatoes ready to blanch them, you could do it two ways. You can either score the tomato before you put it in the boiling water, or you could boil them first, meaning like 2 or 3 minutes. That's what a blanch process is. And then take them out and let them cool on your board, and then you can take the skins off, kind of like what I've done here. And it's a messy process. So like right here, I've got the tomatoes are boiling for blanching. This is the ones that have taken the skins off, and so it's kind of a 2 or 3 step. And it takes all day, and it may take me probably several days to even complete this, but what I'm going to do is just take this step by step and show you so to make it easier on you. Ready for canning is going. So in this pot here, they are blanching. What I did is I scored the tomatoes like a hash mark, like an X mark on the bottom, and then I put them in the hot water, and they cook there for about 3 minutes, and that's the blanching process. You take them out, and then I put them in this bowl, and they sit there and cool because my fingertips are all burned now from working on this process now for a couple of hours. And for all the tomatoes that you saw earlier, it makes about that much in the pot. I mean, it's a lot of work, and you feel like you get little gain from it, but in the end, I'll probably get about 2 or 3 quart jars from this, and we'll work on that later. I'll take you to the store and show you how I pick out my jars because I'm out, and we'll just make this our project for the day. Okay. Hey guys, so I'm at my area Kroger, and what you need for this process, what I like to use is the wide mouth quart jars, like you see here, right here. You could do regular mouth, but it's going to be hard to get in and out, so I would suggest the wide mouth. Hey everybody, so what we're doing today is this is kind of the day 2 of the continuation of the canning process. And what I've done already is I have a bowl here of blanched tomatoes, and I've let them cool, and I've just kind of let them sit here for a couple hours, and I'm just kind of going through them. And I just thought I would chit chat with you for a few minutes while I'm peeling the skins off and put them in the pot. So canning, let's see, who taught me how to can? My grandmother taught me how to can when she was either in her late 80s or early 90s. I knew she would be leaving this earth soon, and so I asked her to teach me how to can. It was pretty simple. The first thing we did together is we canned some tomatoes, but then we also canned some apples, I remember. And since they're passing, I've gotten into things like canning jams and jellies, and definitely tomatoes, but I never got into canning green beans or anything like that. But I enjoy canning because I feel like it's a lost art. It's so much easier to go to the grocery store and buy a can of Hanover tomatoes or whatever. But I do believe that very soon we're going to need to know how to do this, and I think that time is coming pretty shortly. And so we have such a big family that when we can, it doesn't last long, but I still think that, you know, it's good to pass this on to my girls and my sons when they get older, and teach them. And maybe one day I'm going to have a farm, and I'll have more produce to can. I'm not really sure, but anyway. So yeah. So the other day when I started this process, I made a couple of mistakes. The first mistake was I tried to blanch the tomatoes without scoring them. So this time when I did this batch, I definitely scored them before I blanched them. It just made it easier. And then, you know, just trying to work with them too soon after they were done blanching just was aggravating. You know, it hurt. My fingers were all blistered, and I cut myself almost a couple times. So today I'm just kind of doing things in stages. So number 1, score your tomatoes on the bottom before you blanch them. And then let them sit there for, you know, an hour or so while you go run and do something else while they cool. And then, as I'm doing, peel the peelings off. Second mistake I made was I cooked them too long. I cooked them for several hours on the stove, and then I put them in the crock pot and cooked them all night. And the next morning, I didn't have very many tomatoes. They had pretty much reduced to maybe 1 jar full. So I just used that for that night's meal, and I made a nice sauce with it. So it didn't go to waste, but I was very disappointed with all the work that I made headway on Saturday that I didn't get much put away with that batch. So second lesson was don't cook them too long. Cook them long enough to get the bacteria out of them or whatever, and then just go ahead and jar them. So later on today, once these cook down for a little bit, I mean, these are a little watery, so we do want to, I'll show you in a minute, we do want to get them to cook some of that liquidy water out, just so they're not too watery. And then I'll show you how I can them. Now, the way I can is I don't go out and buy that expensive kit that they sell, like Ball sells. In fact, one of the things that happens when you do all this cutting is all your juice runs out into the floor and down your cabinets, and it's very messy, so I keep a towel handy and just keep it right there at my feet. So what I do is, as you saw in my other video, I have 2 pots on the stove. One for the blanching, one for the cooking. But when it comes time to actually... Okay, my video cut off because I can't figure out how to get my SD card to work in my camera. I bought a new SD card so my files could all be transferred, and I put it in, but I don't know, it's not accepting it or something. I've got to go in and tell the phone that it's got an SD card, so I lost a little bit of memory there. So I'm going to start back to where I was at. Okay, so I was talking a little bit about equipment. So yeah, so they sell this big canning system, but I don't recommend it. I don't feel like if you've got a couple large jars in your kitchen, not jars, pots. If you've got a couple of large pots, you don't need that canning system. What you want is something that you can immerse, whatever size jar you're using, you just need to be able to immerse it under water. And so that's how tall of a pot you would need. But I do recommend, they sell like a lidding kit, which is like a handle thing that picks up your hot jars out of the water without burning. It's got like rubber tips on it. I do recommend getting that. So if that's the only thing extra I really feel like you need to buy. One of the things that I like to use when I can tomatoes is lemon juice. So when I'm ready to jar these tomatoes in a little while, I'm going to squeeze probably 2 lemons in the batch, and that's going to help preserve the tomatoes. So yeah, so I wanted to make sure I added that if I forget later on. So yeah, so this is just something I really enjoy doing. You know, every year I forget how to do some of it, and it's a little trial and error, but so this is really my first batch that I've canned this year. And I think we've got more out in the garden, so that we'll be bringing more in. And so, yeah, anyway, so I think I may even play around with some other recipes instead of just canning straight tomatoes. I'd like to try some salsa, maybe some chow chow. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so, okay, so I'm gonna do some more, but I just wanted to show you what I meant about the water, how watery these things can be. So what we wanna do is, so see all the juice in there? I don't know if the camera's picking it up. So we want to get that cooked out, and once that's cooked out, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll let you know that I'll, because you don't want all that water to be in there. It's just wasting space. One of the things my grandmother made that was always so yummy, and I really don't know how to do it, I'd have to look it up on the internet, is tomato juice. That was always a lot of fun to go over there, and she'd have a whole tomato juice jar can put away, and that was yummy. I'm assuming that that was cooked tomato juice. Now that I do so much raw food eating, I would rather just put tomatoes through the juicer and drink it that way, honestly. But anyway, they didn't have juicers back then, I don't think. Alright, so I'm going to stop this for now, and then we'll catch up later on when it's time to heat up, sterilize the jars. Okay, bye-bye. Alrighty, so today we are going to can the tomatoes, and I've got my big case of quart-sized jars here. I'm going to open them, and we're going to start washing them, and then we're going to actually sterilize them. And so I'm going to show you how I do that, because sometimes people just need to be shown. It's hard sometimes just to read things on the internet or tell somebody over the phone, so it's just easier to show. So I think I'm gonna start with 4, because I don't think I have a whole lot today, but I think 4 is a good number, and I can always wash and sterilize more if I go through the process and don't have enough, which has happened before. So, okay, be right back. Okay, so I just ran some warm soapy water, and I'm taking the jar and the lid part off, and I'm gonna wash all 3 pieces, times 4. And this is just basically just to get the dirt and dust off from being packaged, because once you sterilize them, that's going to clean any bacteria or germs off the jars. And I'm just going to lay them here and let them dry on the cloth. So I'm pretty excited about this process. Just because I wanted to film this and I wanted good daylight, I've kind of taken my time. It really doesn't take 3 days to can tomatoes. It's just kind of the way it's worked out, because the first batch got eaten so quickly I didn't even bother canning those. Now I will tell you, these flat lids, once you use those once to sterilize or to seal, I should say, you don't want to use them again. Like if you're just using your jars to store things in, sure, but if you're actually using the seals to seal food, throw them away once you open the jar or once you're done with them. The seal, it really isn't proper to reseal something twice. And you can go in the store and buy them, you know, a little box of them, there's no big deal, and that's why they come like that. Okay. Last one. I really like the wide mouth jars. They're so easy to get in and out of them. And they're nice to store things into, like beans or rice, if you're not needing them for Japan. And I've gone through periods in my life where I've actually used them to store leftover food instead of plasticware. I go through stages. Okay. So now, next I'm going to do is get my pot, and I'll show you the pot that I use to sterilize these jars. So it's just like a kind of a normal size stock pot, and it's, you know, compared sizes. See how that's going to fit in there nicely and be able to cover the lids, because when you go to actually process at the end, when you're putting all your filled lidded jars of food at the very end, you're going to want to submerge them in the water for about 5 to 10, I think it's 10 minutes. But this is basically to get water in the pot to sterilize the jars. And then we'll be canning pretty soon. Okay, so I've got the stock pot full of, about a halfway full of water, because you don't need a whole lot of water. Once you put the jars in, it's going to raise the water level anyway. But let me show you. This is the utensil set that I've been using for years. And what you're going to want in this is this. You hold it by the handle, and this fits perfectly over the, and you're going to want, you got a nice grip, it's not going anywhere, it's not going to slip. So this is like the main ingredient to canning, in my opinion, is this jar holder. The other thing that I like to use, and I'm probably not going to be able to find it quickly because I'm on camera. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, this was my grandmother's. And this is the funnel. And it goes over the jar, and you think, well, what's the big deal? Even though there's just that much, it just makes it very easy not to slip and get all messy. But I think there is one that comes in this kit. It's probably in a cabinet somewhere. So if you don't have, don't worry about it. It will come with a little plastic one, which is nice. And also the other thing that I use in this is this little magnetic piece, so that you're going to also have a small pot that these are going to be getting, they're going to set it in hot water right before you can to kind of soften the seal, and this is great to get it out of that water. So so the funnel, the jar lifter, and this little magnetic stick lid lifter is probably well worth the money to buy the kit. Okay,